Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something critical, a blueprint, you could say, for achieving total financial control.
Yeah, we're looking at this 9-step strategy. And it's not just about getting rich quick or anything like that.
No, exactly. It's designed to build fundamental financial resilience. So you can face pretty much any crisis, losing a job, a market dip, or, well, like the author experienced, a real personal tragedy.
Yeah.
And you can look it right in the eye and just say, okay, I've got this.
And understanding where this plan came from is, I think, really important for understanding why it actually works.
Right.
The author didn't just dream this up in some, academic setting. He developed it after losing absolutely everything in a bushfire.
Yeah, imagine that.
He was completely overwhelmed. He talked about having a literal phone book of things to do financially, administratively, everything. And the usual advice is, tackle the biggest fire first.
Right, the most urgent thing.
But he did the opposite.
Which sounds crazy at first. Planting an apple tree?
Exactly. That was the first thing he committed to. Planting an apple tree, it seems almost trivial. But it's deeply symbolic.
Okay.
You plant a sapling, you get nothing back immediately. There's no instant reward. It's this profound, long-term commitment. It's about consistency, about growth. It's pushing back against that short-term panic fix.
So it's like saying financial success isn't about expecting fruit tomorrow.
Precisely. It's about planting the right seeds, doing the right things today consistently.
Okay, that sets the stage.
And this leads straight into the core philosophy. This whole system basically rejects the idea that you need to be some kind of genius or earn a massive salary to win with money.
It's not about the brains. It's about
behavior, purely behavior. The author makes this really clear distinction, these two mindsets. You've got the alpaca attitude.
Okay.
That's a person who stands up, takes ownership, says, okay, this is my situation. I'm going to work methodically to fix it.
Right. Responsibility. And the other one?
The groundhog, stuck in that loop, doing the same thing every day, debt, spending, worry, but kind of hoping for some magic fix to fall out of the sky.
Like a lottery win or a magic diet shake for finances?
Exactly. Instead of just putting in the work, the daily run, so to speak, they're overwhelmed, looking for a shortcut that just doesn't exist.
And that feeling, that overwhelm, it just kills financial plans before they even start, doesn't it?
It's the biggest destroyer. And that's why this strategy is powerful. It deliberately avoids the kind of rigid, shame-based budgeting. The author calls it the financial grapefruit diet.
Yeah.
Instead, it focuses you on doing just one specific thing at a time. You nail that step, you tick it off, you feel good, you move to the next.
So it prevents that information overload.
And it guarantees momentum right from the start, which is vital. So our mission today is to really explore these first 6 steps in detail. We've split them into 2 phases.
Right, the plant phase.
Yep, building the foundations, getting rid of the bad debt.
And then the grow phase.
Accelerating your security and, building that long-term wealth.
Okay, let's dive right into step 1. And this one always raises eyebrows. Schedule a monthly barefoot date night. It doesn't sound very financial.
It sounds fluffy, maybe, but it's actually the bedrock. Because money is fundamentally emotional. Look at the stats. Relationships Australia says financial stress, disagreements about money. That's the #1 cause of friction in families, relationship breakdowns.
Wow, #1.
Yeah. So this date night, you kick things off with 5 weekly ones to really get momentum. Then it's monthly. Forever, it's designed to shift money from being a battleground
to a joint mission.
Exactly. Building this little fortress where it's the two of you against the world, focused on where you want to go together.
And it's not just chatting, is it? You mentioned doing the work.
Absolutely critical. You need the nice food, maybe the garlic bread and wine like the author suggests, make it enjoyable. But you have to actually do the financial stuff. Open the bank statements, set up the accounts online together, make the transfers.
So it's a working meeting, but a pleasant one.
Yes. And if you're single, you still do it. Schedule that time, treat yourself nicely, but do the admin. Get it done. It frames money management as this intentional, maybe even enjoyable part of your life, not some chore you dread.
Okay, that makes sense. It reframes the whole task.
It also sets the right time frame in your head. This is so important. One of the biggest traps in finance is thinking you could fix everything in a year.
Right, the New Year's resolution effect.
Yeah, you overestimate the short term,
Yeah.
but you massively underestimate what's possible over, say, 6 years. We see this with Danielle's story in the book.
This about her.
Started completely broke. Significant credit card debt. 6 years ago, she started this process. Today, owns her own 3-bedroom townhouse. 0 bad debt. Solid emergency savings.
Wow.
And crucially, she did it all herself. No rich parents, no high-earning partner chipping in. It proves the system works.
Yeah.
So the date night reinforces that you're signing up for this longer journey, maybe 6 years, for total transformation, not just a quick fix.
Got it. Commitment. Now, part of this date night involves setting up the actual banking structure, the core banking strategy, or barefoot banking. You mentioned zero loyalty.
Yes. This is fundamental. You have to understand what banks are. They're described as giant corporate octopuses. Okay? Their goal is to maximize fees and interest from you. Loyalty. It doesn't pay. The source material points out the average Aussie household cops about $395 in bank fees every year.
That's nuts.
It is. Compound that over 10 years, you're looking at nearly $4,000 gone. That's that 5-star trip to New York you could have had. So the goal here is dead simple. Find banking with zero fees, period. No tricky intro offers, no loyalty tax, just zero fees, always.
And the system is very specific about the accounts you need. This is the entree part.
Exactly. Precise structure for psychological clarity. You need 4 accounts in total, all with 0 monthly fees. 2 are everyday transaction accounts. 2 are high-interest online savings.
Okay, break them down.
Right. 1, daily expenses. This is your hub. Food, rent or mortgage, bills, transport, it all flows through here. 2, splurge. This is your guilt-free fun money account. Coffee, magazines, going out, whatever.
Guilt-free is key there.
Absolutely. 3, smile. This is an online saver. It's for bigger fun goals, down the track holidays, maybe a new car eventually, things that make you smile.
Nice. And number 4?
4, fire extinguisher. Another online saver. This is the powerhouse. Starts pointed at debt, then the house deposit, then the mortgage itself. It's your financial weapon.
Fire extinguisher, I like that. And making this work for couples involves the partner rule.
Yes, a partner rule is crucial for avoiding arguments, especially with that splurge account.
How does it work?
Okay, the accounts might be joint, but each partner needs their own separate debit card linked to them. And here's the key. You pre-agree on a spending limit, say $400, maybe more, maybe less, whatever works for you.
Okay.
Any purchase under that amount from your splurge money needs 0 permission. No discussion, no justification, no guilt.
So no eye rolling if someone buys a gadget or gets an expensive haircut.
Exactly. It kills those little money fights before they start. It's your splurge money. You're entitled to spend it how you like, below that agreed limit. Your partner can't veto it. It's about autonomy within the partnership.
Okay. Accounts are set up, linked, partner rule agreed. Step 2 is automating it all with the serviette strategy. This sounds like where we simplify things and conserve that willpower you mentioned.
Precisely. We're moving from the emotional setup to the behavioral science bit. Roy Bellmeister's research is key here. Willpower is finite. It's a muscle. It gets tired.
Right, decision fatigue.
Yeah. People who are good with money don't necessarily have more willpower. They've just built automatic habits, routines that run without much conscious effort. The serviette strategy is that automation. It's just a simple visual plan. 3 buckets. Blow, mojo, grow. Apparently, the author literally drew it on a pub napkin for someone once to show how simple it is.
Love that. So how do the 4 accounts from step 1 connect to these 3 buckets? How does the automation actually work?
Okay, this is the engine room. Automation makes it happen without you thinking. Bucket 1, the blow bucket. This gets 60% of your after-tax income. It covers your daily living: food, shelter, bills, transport, fun. The Barefoot benchmark here is critical. You need to train yourself to live off 60% of your take-home pay.
60%? That sounds tight for some people.
It can be a challenge initially, absolutely. If you're spending, say, 85% now, you have to get ruthless. Look at where the money's really going. The advice is to spend more on things you genuinely love and value, like a great mattress or quality shoes, and cut the mindless spending. You know, the unused subscriptions, the cheap stuff that breaks, the extra coffees you don't even enjoy that much.
Okay, focus the spending. Where does the 60% go account-wise?
That 60% is split. Some goes into your daily expenses account for the necessities, and the rest goes into your splurge account for the fun stuff. You decide the split based on your budget within that 60%.
Got it. Bucket 2.
Bucket 2, the mojo bucket. This gets 10%. This is purely your emergency safety net, and it must live in that separate Smile savings account away from daily spending.
Why the separation?
It creates a psychological barrier. You won't accidentally raid your emergency fund for, I don't know, Lady Gaga tickets. It's sacred ground.
Makes sense.
And the first, most vital mission for Mojo is banking $2,000 as fast as possible. Sell stuff on Gumtree, work overtime, whatever it takes.
Why $2,000 specifically?
Because studies show that amount covers the vast majority of common, short-term emergencies. The fridge breaks, you need urgent dental work, the car needs repairs. Having that $2,000 cushion immediately eliminates something like 90% of short-term money stress. That initial peace of mind is huge. Psychologically, it's maybe the most important account.
Okay, below 60%, Mojo 10%. What's the last bucket?
Bucket 3, the grow bucket. This gets the rest, typically 30% if you hit the 60% below benchmark. This is purely for long-term wealth creation. Think superannuation, investments, paying down the mortgage faster later on, stuff designed to grow, ideally doubling every 7 to 10 years. This is the money that really builds your future.
Okay, that structure makes sense. Blow, Mojo, grow. Now, how do you automate the actual money flow? You mentioned the 10-20 rule.
Right. This is the automatic transfer setup. Every time your pay lands in your main daily expenses account, before you can touch it, 3 automatic transfers must happen immediately.
Okay, what are they?
10% whips straight across to your splurge account. That's your fun money, locked in, ensures you don't feel deprived, helps you stick to the plan.
Have some fun.
10% goes straight to your Smile account. Initially, this builds up that $2,000 Mojo buffer. Once that's full, this account becomes your savings for those bigger Smile goals, like holidays or a car upgrade.
Okay, 10% splurge, 10% Smile Mojo, and the last 20%.
That 20% goes directly into the fire extinguisher account.
Ah, the fire extinguisher. You said that's the real engine of the plan.
It absolutely is, because that 20% contribution, it never changes. It's constant. But what it's aimed at changes depending on your current priority, your biggest financial fire.
So right now in this plant phase we're talking about,
it's aimed squarely at bad debt. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, once the debt's gone, that same 20% flow immediately gets redirected to saving your house deposit. Then later, it gets aimed at smashing down the mortgage. It's your flexible, powerful, wealth-building weapon.
Okay, infrastructure's built, automation's running, the fire extinguisher is funded with that 20%. Now, step 3, this is where, as you say, it gets really interesting. Domino your debts, and it starts with undoing some brainwashing.
Yeah, the source material doesn't pull any punches here. It compares traditional financial education in schools, like the Commonwealth Bank's Dollar Mites program.
Oh, yeah, I remember Crud the Conga or whatever.
Right. It compares that to having Ronald McDonald teach kids about nutrition.
Fair point.
The argument is the bank's real goal isn't education. It's building a massive marketing database. So the second those kids turn 18, boom, they get offered a credit card. It normalizes debt from a young age.
And that leads to these myths people tell themselves, right? Like, oh, I pay it off every month, or justifying it for the points.
Exactly. The reality check is pretty stark. There was an ABC News report mentioned. It found only about a third of people believe they paid credit card interest. But the actual number is nearly double that, close to 60%.
Wow. So most people are paying interest even if they think they aren't.
Yeah. And the rewards points. It's largely a myth, a spending trap. That figure used needing to spend $370,000 on a card to earn enough points for an old iPhone 6 shows how skewed it is.
$370,000. That's insane.
It is. It's not just the high annual fees on some cards, it's the terrible redemption value of the points. You're spending huge amounts, maybe paying high interest, for tiny, almost negligible rewards. They're designed to make you spend more, not save money. They're debt tools, pure and simple.
Okay, message received. Cut the illusions. So how do we actually tackle the debt? The debt domino strategy, 5 steps.
5 steps. Calculate, negotiate, eliminate, detonate, and celebrate.
Let's break them down. Domino 1, calculate. Simple, but crucial. You list every single debt you have. Everything. Credit cards, store cards, personal loans, car loans, even that $50 you owe your mate, or an old parking fine. Write it all down.
But not things like student loans.
Generally, no. Government student loans like HECS, HLM in Australia are different. The interest rate's usually low, tied to inflation, and repayments are linked to your income. So they sit outside this aggressive payoff strategy for now. The key is listing all the other debts, from the smallest dollar amount owing up to the largest. Get clarity.
Okay. List them small to large. Domino 2. Negotiate.
This can save you serious money. You need to call your bank. And don't just talk to the first person who answers. Ask specifically for the customer retention department.
Ah, the people who can actually make deals.
Exactly. You basically threaten, politely, to take your business elsewhere. Use the script provided in the source, demand they waive the annual fee entirely, and push hard for a much lower interest rate. Aim for something like 9.95% or even less if you can get it.
What if they won't budge? Then you consider the red pill, a 0% balance transfer offer from another bank. But, and this is critical, if you do that, The absolute first thing you do when the new card arrives is cut it up.
Why?
Because otherwise the temptation's too high. You end up running up debt on the old card and the new one.
Yeah.
Just dig a deeper hole, cut it up immediately.
Okay. Negotiate or transfer, then destroy. Which leads to domino 3. Eliminate.
This is the symbolic moment, the plastic surgery. You take every single credit card you have and you physically cut them up. Snip, snip.
All of them. Even for emergencies.
All of them. The argument is powerful. Keeping a credit card just in case while you're trying to get out of credit card debt, it's like an alcoholic keeping a bottle of vodka under the sink. It's a psychological contradiction. Cutting them provides this immediate, tangible feeling of control, freedom almost.
Okay, I get the psychology. Card's gone. Domino 4. Detonate. This is the payoff part.
This is where the fire extinguisher gets aimed. Now, here's where the strategy deliberately goes against conventional wisdom. Most financial advisors say, attack the debt with the highest interest rate. First, the avalanche method. It makes mathematical sense.
Right. Save the most interest.
But this plan says no. You attack the smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate. This is the snowball method.
Okay, why? Why ignore the math? That feels counterintuitive.
It's purely about behavioral psychology, and it's critical for actually sticking with the plan. Think about it. If your biggest debt is huge, even with a high interest rate, it might take you 18 months, 2 years maybe, before you fully pay it off.
Yeah, it's a long time to stay motivated.
Exactly. That lack of visible progress. It leads to discouragement. People get bored, they feel like they're getting nowhere, and they quit.
Right.
But if you attack the smallest debt first, maybe it's a $50 parking fine or $200 owed on a store card, you can use that 20% fire extinguisher money and wipe it out completely in maybe a few weeks or even days.
Yeah, you get a quick win.
A quick, powerful win. That victory releases dopamine in your brain. It trains you to win. It feels good, and it builds unstoppable momentum. Then, you take all the money you were putting towards that now dead small debt, the minimum payment plus your fire extinguisher amount, and you throw that entire chunk at the next smallest debt.
So the snowball gets bigger as it rolls downhill.
Precisely. Each debt you kill frees up more cash to throw at the next one. It accelerates. It's incredibly motivating.
Okay, behavior over math, I see it. And the final domino, domino 5, celebrate.
Don't skip this. When you pay off a debt, especially that first tiny one, you need to mark the occasion. This suggestion is a bill-burning ceremony. Obviously, pay the bill first, then burn the statement. Safely, of course.
Why the ceremony?
It reinforces the win. It connects the effort with a positive reward in your brain. It cements the habit, builds that winning feeling, and makes you eager to knock over the next domino.
That feeling of starting, of taking action must be huge too, even before the first debt is gone.
Absolutely. The moment you start this domino process, you shift from being a passive victim of debt to an active problem solver. You're no longer in debt in the same way. You have a debt problem that you are actively, systematically destroying. By the end of this plant phase, you've got the structure, the automation, and you're rapidly clearing the decks.
The financial soil is prepped, as you said, ready for growth.
Exactly. You've cleared the weeds, tilled the soil. Now, that powerful 20% fire extinguisher, having done its job on the debts, gets immediately re-aimed. We pivot to the grow phase. Step 4.
Ah, the great Australian dream. But doing it safely, I assume.
Safely and strategically. Owning your home, the place you live in, is presented as pretty much non-negotiable for long-term security in this plan. It's not just, an emotional castle.
Right.
It's a financial tool. Firstly, it's essentially a 30-year forced savings plan via the mortgage repayments. And secondly, this is huge in Australia. Any capital gain, the increase in the home's value over time, is completely tax-free when you eventually sell your primary residence.
That tax advantage is massive compared to other investments.
Enormous. And the source material is quite direct about avoiding the trap of waiting forever for the perfect time to buy.
You mean waiting for a crash?
Yeah. That constant housing market about to crash headline, it's mostly clickbait. Drives views, sells papers, whatever. While markets definitely go up and down, trying to perfectly time the bottom is basically impossible. History shows that. The real question isn't if you'll buy, but when you commit to the plan that makes buying possible.
Okay, so commit to the goal, and the specific target within this step is saving that 20% deposit.
Yes. This becomes the new mission for your fire extinguisher. As soon as the last non-mortgage debt domino falls, that 20% automatic saving continues, but now it flows into your fire extinguisher account specifically to build that house deposit.
And hitting that 20% target does more than just get you the deposit, right?
Absolutely. It proves to yourself, and crucially to the banks when you apply for a loan, that you are a disciplined, capable saver. You've demonstrated you can handle money, and the big financial win of hitting 20% is avoiding LMI.
Lender's mortgage insurance. Can you quickly recap why that's so bad for anyone unfamiliar?
Sure. LMI, lender's mortgage insurance. It sounds like it protects you, but it doesn't. It's insurance that you, the borrower, pay for, often thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars upfront or added to the loan. But it only protects the bank if you default on your mortgage.
So you pay, the bank benefits.
Exactly. You get absolutely nothing from it except a lighter wallet. By saving the full 20% deposit, you signal you're lower risk, the bank doesn't need that insurance, and you completely sidestep that massive useless fee. That's money you can use for, furniture, moving costs, anything useful.
And the mindset shift here is important too. It's not just about scraping together the deposit.
No, the goal isn't just to limp over the 20% line and be done. That deposit is just the first major milestone. The bigger picture, the long-term goal you set your mind on, is owning that home outright. Freedom.
And Danielle's story comes back here.
Yes, she's the proof of concept again. She did it. Alone. Paid off debt, saved the 20% using this exact fire extinguisher method. Bought a 3-bedroom townhouse at 31. She talked about the sense of security it gave her being totally life-changing.
So the actionable step for listeners now.
Calculate it. Based on your income and that 20% savings rate going into the fire extinguisher, figure out exactly how many months it will take to hit your 20% deposit target for the kind of place you're aiming for. Write that number down, stick it on the fridge, make it real, make it visible.
Okay, house deposit plan is locked in and running. Step 5 takes us to superannuation or, retirement savings, often seen as boring, complex.
Maybe a bit mysterious.
Yeah.
Locked away.
Yeah, but the source material calls it Australia's greatest legal tax dodge. The golden ticket to investing. Why so much emphasis?
It comes down to the incredible tax advantages.
Yeah.
It's almost unbeatable. Look, the top marginal tax rate in Australia, once you include the Medicare levy, is pushing close to 47 cents in the dollar.
Right. Nearly half your extra earnings gone in tax.
But money you contribute to your super fund, it's typically taxed at only 15% on the way in. That's an instant 32 percentage point win, backed by the government, before your money even starts earning investment returns.
That's a huge head start.
Massive. And then, down the track, when you retire, if your super balance is below the current cap, all the investment earnings and the withdrawals can be completely tax-free. No other investment structure offers that kind of tax shield.
But the industry itself gets a lot of bad press. Fees, complexity. You mentioned Frank from Bendigo.
Yeah, Frank's story is a real cautionary tale. It highlights the danger of hidden fees, of just trusting a big-name brand. He was doing the right thing, contributing diligently for 25 years to his fund with a major bank.
But he was covered.
Exactly. But when the author crunched the numbers, it turned out Frank had paid roughly $85,000 in fees over that time.
$85,000 just in fees.
Just in fees. Money that just evaporated.
Right.
Didn't grow his balance. It paid for the fund manager's overheads, maybe their fancy lunches, who knows. Fees are like termites in your retirement savings, quietly eating away at your future wealth, because they compound negatively over time.
And the difference between a high fee and a low fee fund is actually enormous over a lifetime.
Staggering. The example given uses the government's Money Smart calculator. Take a 35-year-old contributing regularly for 30 years. The difference between a fund charging, say, 1% in total annual fees, which sounds small, versus an ultra-low-cost index fund charging maybe 0.02%.
What's the difference in the final balance?
Over 30 years, it's $226,484.
Wow. $250,000 just from that small-sounding fee difference.
Gone, just because of fees. So the instruction here is crystal clear. You must get your super into an ultra-low-cost fund.
Yeah.
The target is total fees under 0.85% per year, but honestly, you can find excellent funds much, much lower than that now.
Okay, low fees are paramount, and the goal is to become an automatic millionaire by hitting a 15% total contribution rate.
Yes, 15% of your gross salary. That's the figure international studies suggest is the minimum needed to maintain a decent standard of living in retirement, to avoid poverty.
And how do you get to 15%?
Well, your employer in Australia is already legally required to contribute the superannuation guarantee, which is currently 9.5% and rising slowly. So you only need to top it up by an extra 5.5% yourself.
How do you do that?
The best way is usually through salary sacrifice. You arrange with your employer to contribute that 5.5% directly from your pre-tax salary into your super fund.
So it happens automatically, and you get the tax break immediately.
Exactly. You'll see a small dip in your take-home pay, yes, but the long-term benefit from the tax savings and the extra compounding growth is immense. You're automating your path to potentially becoming a millionaire by retirement.
And there's another advantage to super, isn't there? The behavioral edge. It stops us from making silly mistakes.
Yes, this is huge. It basically saves us from ourselves, from our emotional investing impulses. Decades of data show the average investor trying to pick stocks or time the market consistently underperforms the actual market index, sometimes by a lot, like 7.4% per year, according to one study cited.
Why do we do that? Why are we so bad at it?
Two things mainly, greed and fear.
Yeah.
We get greedy when markets are soaring, pile in at the top. Then when markets inevitably correct or crash, we panic, sell low, and lock in losses. It's irrational, but very human.
So how does super avoid that?
Because it's automatic. The money goes in every single pay cycle, whether the market is up, down, or sideways. You're automatically practicing dollar cost averaging, DCA.
Buying consistently over time.
Yep. Sometimes you buy high, sometimes low, but over the long run, it averages out, and you avoid those disastrous timing mistakes driven by emotion. By automating your investment into a cheap, broadly diversified index fund, the example given is the Host Plus Index Balance Fund with fees around 0.06%. You remove the human error factor. You harness the market's long-term growth potential without the self-sabotage. And often, these dirt-cheap index funds actually beat the expensive, actively managed funds over time simply because their costs are so low.
Okay, we're nearing the end of this initial grow phase. Step 6 brings us back to safety, back to mojo, boosting it significantly. You mentioned earlier savings equals happiness, or rather, freedom.
Yeah, the research is pretty compelling. Once your income hits a certain level, around $75,000 is often cited. More money doesn't really buy much more day-to-day happiness, but having savings, that does significantly increase well-being.
Because it buys you options.
Options. Freedom. Freedom from having to stay in a job you hate with a creepy boss. Freedom from lying awake worrying about how you'd pay for a major car repair. Freedom from stress. That's the real currency.
So back in step 2, we established that initial $2,000 mojo buffer for immediate small emergencies. Now we're taking it to the next level.
Exactly. That $2,000 was critical first aid. Now we're building the fully equipped hospital trauma bay, metaphorically speaking. We need to solidify that safety net into a much more substantial buffer.
And the target is 3 months of living expenses, kept in that separate mojo account.
Yes, 3 months worth of your essential blow expenses, rent, mortgage, food, utilities, transport, basic bills. Calculate what that number is for your household. That's your target for the mojo account. Some people eventually aim for 6 months, but 3 is the crucial initial goal after debts are gone, and that how deposit is saved or being saved.
Why 3 months specifically? What does that give you?
It provides a realistic buffer. Enough time to find a new job if you were laid off without panicking. Right. Enough time to recover from a significant illness or injury without financial ruin. Enough time to handle a major unexpected expense or life event without having to go back into debt. It's the gold standard for immediate financial security and liquidity.
And the feeling that gives you.
It's profound. The source describes it as a feeling of security that never wears off.
Wow.
It fundamentally changes how you see the world, what you feel capable of.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate act of prioritizing your family's actual security and well-being over, ego or instant gratification or keeping up with the Joneses.
And Leanne Russell, the Mojo Mama, her story illustrates this well.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
She talked about growing up in a household burdened by debt, carrying that financial anxiety with her into adulthood.
Yeah.
After she used the plan to aggressively pay off a $35,000 car loan and credit cards, her next intense focus was building her mojo. She eventually saved over $30,000 in that separate account. For her, coming from that background, having that level of control, that safety net, was previously unfathomable.
It's not just the number, it's the peace of mind.
It's the peace of mind. Knowing you're protected from life's inevitable curveballs. Knowing you won't be forced back into the stress and trap of bad debt if something goes wrong.
And again, this mojo money has to stay separate, untouched, just sitting there ready.
Absolutely. It's not investment money. It's insurance money. It needs to be easily accessible in that high-interest savings account, but psychologically walled off from everyday spending or even those smile goals. It's purely there to let you ride out a storm for 3 months without having to unravel all the amazing progress you've made.
Wow. Okay, so by the end of step 6, if you followed through,
Right.
what have you actually achieved? It feels like a lot.
It is a monumental transformation. Think about it. You've got the automated banking infrastructure running smoothly. You've completely eliminated toxic high-interest debt. You've got a clear funded plan for saving your 20% house deposit. Your retirement savings are turbocharged, heading towards that crucial 15% or more in a low-cost fund. And you've built this rock-solid 3-month mojo safety net.
You're not financially normal anymore at that point, are you?
Not even close. Normal is broke, stressed, living paycheck to paycheck. You've achieved clarity. You've achieved control. You've built genuine security. #tag conclusion.
What a journey through these first 6 steps. We've gone from the foundational philosophy, the date-night ritual, the barefoot banking setup,
Through automating the serviette buckets below, mojo grow.
then aggressively dominoing the debts, which is huge.
Setting the sights on the 20% home deposit.
Supercharging super to 15% in a low-cost fund.
And finally, building that 3-month mojo buffer. That's a massive amount of progress.
It really brings us back to that apple tree analogy you started with.
It does. It all circles back. You don't plant a tree and expect apples the next day. It takes time. It takes consistent, specific, sometimes frankly boring effort. Watering, weeding, protecting it, but applied relentlessly over time. The results are astonishing. This plan isn't about financial wizardry. It's just about consistent behavior.
And you said it earlier that consistency is often more powerful than high intelligence or trying to perfectly time the market. It's the greatest financial weapon most of us have.
Time and consistency. They're unbeatable when combined.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to take away from this deep dive today. We've talked a lot about planting seeds, about the power of starting. Now think about this. What's that one small, maybe boring action you've been putting off? Is it finally setting up those separate bank accounts? Making that slightly awkward phone call to negotiate a debt interest rate? Filling out that salary sacrifice form for your super that's been sitting on your desk?
Yeah, what's the thing?
What's the thing you're delaying today that honestly could be worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, to your future self 30 years from now? Don't wait for the magic shake or the perfect moment. Just
Go on a slant, plant the bloody tree now. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, ready to sift through all that research, the articles, data, anecdotes, everything you've gathered, and really boil it down.
To get to the stuff that actually shifts your thinking, the actionable knowledge.
Exactly. And today feels like a celebration, doesn't it? We've done the planting, setting up the foundations.
We've watched things grow, built that wealth infrastructure.
And now, finally, we're hitting that financial finish line. It is time for the harvest.
That's it. Part 3, harvest. This is really the payoff phase. We're diving into steps 7, 8, and 9.
Right.
And if, the plant phase was about setting things up, defense maybe, and grow as offense, building wealth.
Then harvest is victory, control.
Absolutely. It's about securing that victory. The goal completely flips here. It's less about just accumulating dollars.
And more about
locking in genuine financial freedom, real control over your future.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is finding those exact instructions, the how-to for crossing these last finish lines, getting rid of debt for good.
Securing retirement, maybe in ways people haven't thought about.
Yeah, and figuring out what this legacy thing really means for you personally. We're moving past that background hum of financial worry.
Right, that sort of normal state of anxiety.
And into real clarity.
Yeah.
This is where all that long-term effort really starts to bear fruit, isn't it? Control over your time, your choices, your impact.
It really is the highest leverage point in the whole plan, I think. It's the difference, like you said, between being normal.
Which often means just worrying, right? Interest rates, market dips.
Exactly. And getting to that powerful place where you genuinely feel deep down, okay, I've got this.
I've got this. I like that. Okay, let's jump in. First part of the harvest, step 7. And I love the title. Get the banker off your back.
Yes. It's direct.
It is. And for anyone listening who's carrying a mortgage, this could be huge. We're talking secrets to saving potentially tens of thousands, years off the loan.
And it starts, maybe controversially, with a dose of reality. We need to define a term the sources use. The postcode PAVO.
Oof. Okay. It sounds harsh, but probably insightful. Unpack that for us. Because I suspect many of us might know one Or maybe even be one and not quite realize it.
Well, a postcode pavo, according to the research, is someone who's really driven by status, by location, above almost all else.
Okay.
So they borrow heavily, maybe hundreds of thousands extra, sometimes, adding over $1 million to the mortgage.
Just to live in a specific suburb.
Right.
Or a slightly bigger house.
Exactly. Just to get into that fancy postcode. They're chasing the appearance of success rather than the substance.
And the sources gave that really vivid example, didn't they? The friends who sold their perfectly fine, maybe even paid off home in a less trendy area. Reservoir, was it?
Yeah, Reservoir. And traded it for a, quote, pokey place in Port Melbourne, took on this huge new mortgage, like 7-figure.
And the immediate result wasn't happiness, was it? It was stress.
Quiet desperation, the sources called it. Financial strain. And almost immediately they started talking about needing to trade up again. It's a cycle.
That's the Pavo cycle then. Looking successful on the outside, nice postcode, maybe an East fancy car.
Right, but underneath. Financially stretched, maybe flabby is the word used. Maximum stress, minimum real freedom.
And it contrasts so sharply with those findings from that classic book, The Millionaire Next Door.
It really does, because what did that book find?
That genuine wealth is often, well, invisible.
Pretty much. The truly wealthy often aren't flashy. They focus on building assets, quietly. They might live in perfectly decent but modest middle-class homes. Why?
Because they understand opportunity cost. Every dollar sunk into an unnecessarily huge mortgage.
Is a dollar that's not working for them. It's not building their freedom.
So that really forces the question the sources pose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're feeling stuck in home loan hell, you need to ask yourself why. Is it truly for a better life, or is it for postcode status?
Because the real payoff, the real harvest we're talking about, isn't the fancy address, it's time.
Time with family.
The ability to maybe work less or differently, getting rid of those awful money fights that destroy relationships, that's the freedom.
Okay, so to get that freedom, to get the bank off your back, there are 3 rules.
Yeah.
Simple, non-negotiable rules for the mortgage. Let's start with Rule 1, the foundational tool.
Right. Rule 1, you absolutely must have an offset account.
And specifically a 100% offset account, right? Not the bank's favorite alternative, the redraw facility. Why is that distinction so critical?
It's huge, and it saves people so much potential grief down the line. A 100% offset account is basically just a normal transaction account, like your everyday savings account. But it's linked directly to your home loan. Any money sitting in that offset account automatically reduces the loan principal you pay interest on, dollar for dollar.
So, simple example, $400,000 mortgage, $50,000 cash in the offset.
You only pay interest on $350,000. But crucially, that $50,000 in the offset, it's still 100% your money. You can access it instantly, anytime. It's your cash.
Okay, contrast that with the redraw facility, which banks often push because
it benefits them. A redraw facility looks similar on the surface. You put extra money in, your loan balance seems to go down, you pay less interest. Yeah. But the moment that extra money goes into a redraw, it's legally considered a prepayment of the loan. It's technically no longer your savings account cash. It's the bank's money that you have to ask permission to redraw. And in certain situations, like financial hardship, they can actually restrict or deny your access to it.
Wow.
Plus, there can be other complications. Sometimes tax implications, depending on how rates move, or issues if a relationship breaks down because it's seen as debt reduction, not savings. The offset account just gives you clean control, flexibility, instant access. No arguments.
That is a massive difference. Okay, Rule 1, 100% offset. Rule 2. This one feels very relevant right now, maybe a bit controversial. Don't fix your rate.
Yes. Look, fixed rates seem tempting, especially when variable rates are climbing or feel high. But the sources strongly caution against them. Why?
Right.
Because they kill your flexibility. They eliminate freedom.
And the example given was Eric, wasn't it? He gets tempted by a seemingly low fixed rate.
Right. Banks offer those rates to lock you in, plain and simple. It's rarely about saving you money long term. Then, let's say rates unexpectedly drop, which they often do over the typical 25 or 30-year life of a loan.
Which they absolutely can do.
Exactly. So rates drop, and maybe Eric wants to switch to the now cheaper variable rate. Or maybe he gets a windfall and wants to pay a big chunk off the loan or even pay it out entirely.
What happens? He's stuck.
He gets hammered by what the banks call a break fee or economic cost.
And how do they calculate that? Is it small?
Oh, rarely small. They essentially figure out the difference between the fixed rate Eric promised to pay and the new lower market rate. Then they multiply that difference by however long he had left on his fixed term.
So that could be Thousands.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands.
Easily tens of thousands. It's a massive penalty. So the advice is stick with the lowest variable rate you can find. It gives you maximum freedom. Freedom to make extra payments without penalty, freedom to renegotiate anytime, freedom to switch banks if you find a better deal. That freedom is usually worth potentially paying slightly more in interest in the short term.
Okay, freedom and flexibility over locking in. That leads perfectly into Rule 3, which reinforces that. Get the cheapest rate possible. Loyalty, it seems, is expensive.
It absolutely is in banking. It's almost punished. Banks save their sharpest rates, their best deals, for new customers to lure them in, not for the loyal ones who've been with them for years.
You have to be proactive.
You have to be. And this brings us to probably the single most valuable, actionable tip in this entire deep dive. The sources call it the $22,064 phone call.
Okay, $22,000 for one phone call. Let's break this down. You mentioned role-playing it, the script, the psychology.
Yes, the leverage is crucial here. You need to understand the bank's perspective. Their own data shows it costs them, on average, around $1,000 in marketing and admin just to replace one lost mortgage customer.
Okay.
And if that customer originally came through a mortgage broker, that cost can balloon up to $6,000 because of the commissions they paid. So they really, really don't want to lose you. They're almost always prefer to keep you, even if it means making a bit less profit on your loan rather than lose you completely.
Right. The cost of acquisition is high. So how do we use that? Step 1.
Step 1, know your market value. You have to do your homework. Go online, Google it. Find the absolute lowest variable home loan rate currently being offered. Look at the aggressive online players, maybe like UBank or TikTok or one of the smaller banks known for sharp pricing. Get that specific rate number.
Got it. Step 2, make the call.
Make the call. But critically, don't just call the general customer service number. Ask specifically to be put through to the customer retention department, or sometimes called the home loan retention team.
Why them specifically?
Because they are the ones who have the authority to offer discounts and negotiate rates to keep customers. The regular call center staff usually don't.
Okay, got the right department. Step 3, deliver the script with confidence.
Total conviction. You start politely, give your account details, then you play the loyalty card briefly. Look, I've been a customer with you for X years, my mortgage is account number, blah, blah, blah. Then the crucial part, I've just been looking at refinancing and I see that cheaper bank name is offering a variable rate of X.XX%. That's a full YYY% lower than the rate you're currently charging me on my loan.
Lay it out clearly.
Clearly and calmly. Then the ultimatum. Now, I'd prefer not to go through the hassle of switching banks, but unless you can match that rate of X.XX%, I'm going to need you to send me the mortgage discharge forms today.
Wow. That's direct.
It has to be. You're showing you're serious, you've done your research, and you're prepared to walk. And the impact, it's incredible. The source material crunched the numbers.
Yeah, that $22,064 figure.
Exactly. Just securing a 0.5% discount, which is often very achievable with this call on a pretty standard mortgage scenario, say $400,000 owing over 18 years at an initial 4% rate. That 0.5% discount saves you precisely $22,064 in interest payments alone over the life of that loan.
$22,000. Tax-free savings. Guaranteed return for maybe, 10, 15 minutes on the phone?
It's an absolutely phenomenal return on your time investment, probably the best hourly rate you'll ever earn.
Incredible. But the sources say don't just stop at getting the discount. Combine it with something else, the power of extra payments.
Yes, this is what they call the final act of mortgage freedom. Getting the cheaper rate is step 1. Step 2 is harnessing the psychological win and channeling it into action.
So using that momentum.
Exactly. If you get that rate reduction and you commit to making extra payments, even something manageable, say $1,000 extra per month on that same $400K mortgage example.
Okay.
The combined effect is staggering. The total interest saved balloons out to $77,641.
$77,000 saved.
Yeah.
And what does that do to the loan term? That's the real freedom measure, isn't it?
It obliterates it. You wipe almost 7 years entirely off the life of that mortgage.
7 years.
7 years sooner that you're completely debt-free. 7 years you don't owe the bank anything. 7 years of income you can redirect to investing or traveling or just living. That is genuine financial control landing in your lap.
It's incredibly powerful. But it's funny, the author notes that the actual moment you make that final payment, it's often a bit flat.
Totally anticlimactic. You imagine fireworks, champagne, the bank manager shaking your hand.
Yeah.
And the reality is usually just a bored bank teller asking, are you sure you want to close this account? Maybe they try and sell you a credit card.
Right.
And that lack of external fanfare just underlines the whole point, doesn't it? The real freedom isn't about a party at the bank. It's internal. It's that shift in your own mind from being, beholden to the bank to being the one in charge, master of your own financial ship.
And once you've mastered the biggest debt, the mortgage, it sets you up perfectly to master the next big challenge, retirement, which takes us right into step 8.
Okay, step 8. Nail your retirement number. So we've got the foundation sorted, the house is paid off, or well on its way. Now we need to make absolutely sure that the wealth we've built, the grow part, is going to last forever.
And this is where that slightly unusual strategy comes in, the Donald Bradman retirement strategy.
That's the one. Named, of course, after the legendary Aussie cricketer. Famous for his incredible consistency, his reliable average. That's what this strategy is about. Reliable, dependable, long-term security.
Built to last, not just for massive returns.
Exactly. And it's so important because, let's be honest, the traditional financial planning industry, the media, they often scare people. They throw around these huge, intimidating numbers. You need $1 million, no, $2 million to retire.
Right. It feels designed to make you feel inadequate or like you need complex, expensive advice. So this Bradman strategy challenges that. We don't necessarily need those enormous figures for a comfortable retirement.
We absolutely challenge it. First, let's define comfortable. We're not talking private jets here. We're using the benchmark figures from SF, that's the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia. They do detailed research on actual retiree spending.
Okay, and what do they say? What does comfortable cost?
Their current benchmark for a truly comfortable retirement, which allows for, decent holidays, running a reasonable car, eating out sometimes, is around $62,435 per year for a couple and about $44,183 per year for a single person.
Okay, those numbers feel, well, more achievable than $2 million.
They are. And the Bradman strategy is specifically designed to meet or even slightly exceed those targets, but without relying on you having $1 million super balance or taking big investment risks in retirement.
So how does it work? There are 3 rules again. Rule 1 sounds familiar.
Rule 1 is the non-negotiable bedrock. Pay off your home. We just spent time on how to accelerate that. If you go into retirement owning your home outright, you eliminate your single biggest living expense. That completely changes the retirement income equation. It's the absolute cornerstone.
Makes sense. Housing costs gone. Rule 2, nail your number. This sounds like the core mechanism. It involves maximizing government support, right? Specifically the age pension here in Australia.
Precisely. This is where the strategy gets really clever, especially for people who realistically aren't going to hit those multi-million-dollar superannuation figures by retirement.
So what are the magic numbers for our super balance?
The key numbers, the sweet spot, according to the sources for maximizing the age pension under the current rules, are around $250,000 in superannuation assets for a couple and about $170,000 for a single person.
Okay, wait. Why those specific, relatively low numbers? Wouldn't having more super than that always be better?
Not necessarily. If your goal is to maximize the amount of guaranteed government-provided income you receive, it comes down to how the age pension assets test works.
Right. The government looks at your assets apart from your home.
Exactly. Your primary home is exempt. But they look at your other assets, superannuation, investments, bank accounts, cars, etc. If your total assessable assets fall below certain thresholds, you qualify for the pension. Those numbers, $250K for couples, $170K for singles, represent a kind of optimal point.
Optimal how?
At those levels, you still qualify to receive a very significant chunk of the full age pension. And the age pension is incredibly valuable because it's paid by the government, it's guaranteed for life, and importantly, it's indexed annually to keep pace with inflation.
Okay, so it's a secure, inflation-proof income stream. How much are we talking? For a couple, the full pension is?
Currently, the maximum rate for a couple combined is around $37,013.60 per year. By keeping your assets around that $250 K mark, you might not get the absolute maximum, but you'll still get a very large portion of it locked in.
Wow. So just by structuring things right around that $250 super figure, you're essentially tapping into a guaranteed government income of, say, $30,000, $37,000 a year, indexed for life. That's powerful.
It's huge security. Now, let's add the next layer. The sources call it the math nugget.
Okay, hit me with the math nugget.
So imagine our couple. Rule 1 achieved, home paid off. Rule 2 achieved around 250Ks in super. They've got their age pension kicking in, let's say close to the max, $37,013.
Right.
Now, in Australia, once you hit your preservation age and officially retire, you're generally required by law to start drawing down a minimum amount from your super each year.
The minimum drawdown rule, what percentage is that typically?
It varies slightly by age, but for most early retirees, it starts at 5% per year.
Okay, so 5% of their $250,000 super balance is $12,500.
Exactly. And here's the other beautiful part. Under current rules, income drawn from your super in the pension phase is completely tax-free.
Ah, tax-free. So add that $12,500 tax-free drawdown to the age pension.
You combine the, say, $37,013 age pension with the $12,500 tax-free super drawdown. What's the total guaranteed indexed annual income?
$49,513.60.
$49,513.60. Guaranteed, mostly indexed, largely tax-free. And you own your own home.
$49,500 guaranteed. That's already getting remarkably close to that ALSF comfortable target of around $62,000, isn't it?
It is. It leaves a relatively small gap to fill, maybe $12,000, $13,000 a year.
And that manageable gap leads us straight into Rule 3, which sounds contradictory at first. Never, ever retire.
Yes. It sounds nuts, right? After all this planning for retirement.
We've spent 2 whole phases, plant and grow, working towards this freedom. Why tell people they can't actually stop working?
Because retirement in the old sense, stopping work completely, sitting on the porch isn't necessarily the goal, and frankly, it's often not great for you.
How so?
Well, research consistently shows that people who retire fully often experience a decline in health, happiness, and social connection. Whereas retirees who continue to work part-time, maybe just a day or two a week, doing something they actually enjoy,
they stay engaged.
They maintain social networks, they have a sense of purpose, they're generally happier and healthier. We're not talking about going back to the 50-hour-a-week corporate grind you hated.
Right. It could be anything. Consulting, tutoring, maybe driving for a rideshare just for the chats, working at the local library.
Exactly. Something that uses your skills or interests, keeps you active, but on your terms. And crucially, the government heavily incentivizes this kind of part-time work for retirees.
How? Through the tax system again.
Massively. Once you hit pension age, the tax benefits on earned income are huge. On top of your tax-free super income and the largely tax-free pension, a retired couple can currently earn up to an additional $28,974 per year from part-time work.
$28,000?
Without paying a single cent of income tax.
Wow. And for a single retiree.
For a single, the tax-free threshold for work income is even higher, around $32,279.
That is incredible. So that gap, we identified the $12,000, $13,000 needed to reach the comfortable benchmark.
Easily covered by very minimal, enjoyable part-time work, and all that income is tax-free. You end up comfortably exceeding the ASFA target. So the Bradman strategy essentially replaces needing a massive, risky super balance with a diversified, highly secure income stream. Part government pension, part tax-free super drawdown, part tax-free work income, plus you own your home. It's built for security.
Stability seems to be the absolute key word here, and stability requires protection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which brings us to that critical safety mechanism you mentioned, the retirement bucket strategy, specifically for Mojo.
Yes. We've talked about the Mojo bucket before in the plant phase, having about 3 months' worth of living expenses saved in cash for emergencies.
Right, the buffer against job loss or unexpected bills. How does Mojo change when we hit retirement?
It changes dramatically in scale and purpose. In retirement, your Mojo bucket needs to be much, much bigger. The recommendation is it should hold 3 to 5 years worth of your planned annual living expenses.
Whoa, 3 to 5 years of expenses?
Yeah.
In cash? That sounds like a lot of money sitting there, potentially losing value to inflation. Why so much?
It is a lot, and yes, it will likely underperform inflation, but it's a deliberate, strategic choice. Think of it as insurance. This large Mojo bucket must be held in ultra-safe, easily accessible CSH within your superannuation account.
Inside the super fund, but as cash.
Yes, especially in the 3 to 5 years leading up to your planned retirement date, you gradually shift funds to build up this cash buffer, and you maintain it through the early years of retirement.
Okay, but what's its specific job? Why is this massive cash buffer so vital?
It's your psychological circuit breaker. It protects you from yourself during inevitable market downturns.
Because markets will crash occasionally. That's a certainty.
It's guaranteed. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but over a 20, 30-year retirement. Absolutely. Yeah. Several times. Now, imagine you didn't have this buffer. Your main retirement savings, your grow bucket, are still invested, hopefully, mostly in growth assets like shares for the long term. Yeah. The market tanks. Drops 30%, say. Yeah. But you still need income to live on, right? To pay the bills, buy groceries. If all your money is invested, what are you forced to do?
You have to sell shares.
You have to sell shares.
At the worst possible time. When they're down 30%, yeah, you crystallize those losses.
Exactly. Selling at the bottom. It's the cardinal sin of investing, driven by panic and necessity. This huge cash mojo buffer prevents that. Market crashes. Fine. You don't touch your investments. You simply draw your living expenses for that year and the next and potentially the year after that directly from your 3 to 5 year cash reserve.
Because it buys you time.
It buys you crucial time. 3 to 5 years for your main investments, your grow bucket, to ride out the storm and recover without you being forced to sell low. It removes the panic factor. It provides immense peace of mind. That peace of mind is the return on having that cash. It's the ultimate financial security blanket in retirement.
That makes complete sense. It decouples your day-to-day living expenses from the market's gyrations. Okay, this Bradman strategy, the bucketing. It's elegant, but it does have moving parts, especially interacting with super rules and the age pension tests. People will need guidance. Where can they find reliable, unbiased advice? Because the sources seem pretty skeptical about the standard financial planning industry.
They are, and probably rightly so in many cases. That analogy used the financial advisor on Tinder, where Simon wants to charge you $4,000 for a first date just to give you a generic plan.
Yeah.
It highlights the potential conflict of interest with purely fee-for-service models that might not be truly tailored or independent. So finding objective help is key.
So who can listeners trust? Where are the safe harbors for advice?
The sources recommend 3 excellent, generally free resources. First, and maybe most powerful for this specific strategy, are Centralink's Financial Information Service Officers, or FISOs.
Centralink being the government agency handling pensions and welfare payments here in Australia.
Correct. FISOs are public servants. Their job is to provide free, comprehensive, and completely unbiased information and guidance specifically about Centralink payments like the age pension and how retirement income streams, superannuation, and assets interact with those payments. They have no products to sell. Their advice is genuinely independent.
That sounds invaluable, like getting free, expert government advice on maximizing your entitlements. What's the second resource?
The National Debt Helpline. The number is 1-800-007-007. This isn't just for people in debt crisis. It's a network of independent, not-for-profit financial counselors across the country.
Oh, okay.
They offer free, confidential advice on budgeting, managing money, understanding financial products, and developing sound financial strategies. Again, completely independent, working only in your best interest.
Great resource. And the third option, closer to home.
Your own superfund advisors. Most industry and retail superfunds offer access to financial advisors. Often, an initial consultation or basic advice is provided free to members with no obligation.
So use that free first meeting.
Absolutely. Go in armed with specific questions about the Bradman strategy, about setting up the cash bucket, about maximizing your age pension alongside your super. See what they say. The key test. If they immediately try to push you into a complex, expensive new product or platform, be very wary. Thank them and walk away.
But if they actually help you understand and implement this kind of strategy within your existing fund,
then they might be genuinely useful. But the FISOs and the National Debt Helpline are your guaranteed independent starting points.
Excellent. Getting that unbiased advice is the final piece to lock in this secure Bradman-style retirement. It's all about achieving that stability and control. Okay, we've done it. We've tackled the mortgage, locked down retirement income. Now we arrive at the final step of the harvest phase. Step 9, leave a legacy. And this feels like, well, a profound shift, doesn't it? Moving beyond just the numbers.
It absolutely is. This step takes the financial control you've built and asks a much bigger question. It shifts the focus entirely from your net worth to your life's worth.
And the sources frame it starkly, don't they? With the reality check. You are going to die.
Yep. No escaping that one. And the point made is, when that day comes at your funeral, people aren't going to be talking about the C-Class Mercedes you leased or the size of your share portfolio.
So the exercise proposed for that final, maybe quite deep Barefoot date night discussion is not about spreadsheets.
No. It's about asking yourself, really asking, what do you want your eulogy to say? What do you actually want to be remembered for? What did your life stand for? It's about translating that hard-won financial control into a life and impact you're genuinely proud of.
And this step seems to have two clear parts. First, taking care of your loved ones practically after you're gone. And second, figuring out how to make a positive difference while you're still here, using the freedom you've created.
Exactly. And preparing for your death, getting your affairs in order, is framed not as morbid, but as the ultimate act of love and responsibility towards your family. It's about removing stress and chaos for them during an already difficult time.
Which brings us to that very practical but often avoided task.
Yeah.
Creating the If I Die folder. What absolutely must go in there?
It needs to be a one-stop shop for your executor and family. So first, all the practical stuff. Lists of all bank accounts, investment accounts, super, shares, property details, insurance policies, life, TPD, income protection, home, car. Logins and passwords need to be handled securely. Of course, maybe a password manager they can access or an encrypted file.
Right. And the key legal documents.
Absolutely essential. An up-to-date will, properly signed and witnessed. And enduring power of attorney documents both financial and medical in case you become unable to manage your affairs before you die.
Okay. But the sources highlighted one specific financial document that's crucial in Australia and often missed.
Yes, this is critical. Your binding superannuation nomination. People often assume their super just automatically forms part of their estate and gets it distributed according to their will.
But it doesn't always.
No. Superannuation law is complex. Unless you have a valid binding death benefit nomination in place with your super fund, the fund's trustee actually has the discretion to decide who gets your super money. It might not go where your will intends.
So your super, which could be hundreds of thousands, even millions, might not go to the people you wanted it to.
It's a real risk. A binding nomination overrides the trustee's discretion and legally forces the fund to pay your super balance directly to the persons you have nominated. It needs to be current and correctly filled out. Check with your fund.
That's a vital piece of admin. What about the less formal instructions, funeral wishes?
Yeah, the sources suggest including these too. It just removes guesswork and potential arguments later. Things like, do you want burial, cremation, any specific music? The author joked about specifying Dire Straits' Money for Nothing. And maybe instructions like, go cheap on the coffin but splurge on the wake. Little details that reflect your personality and make it easier for those left behind.
They provide relief amidst the grief. But the most powerful item mentioned wasn't paperwork, was it? It was the video letter.
Ah, yes. This was framed as the real heart of the legacy piece for your immediate family. The story about the author's wife losing physical mementos of her father in a bushfire really hit home the value of this. Photos fade, objects get lost.
What a video.
A video message is incredibly powerful. It's you, your voice, your face, speaking directly to your partner, your kids, telling them who you were, what you valued, your hopes for them, how much you loved them. It's an undeniable personal legacy that transcends documents and dollars. It ensures they have you, in a way, even when you're gone.
It's incredibly moving. Okay, so that's the protection side. Once that's locked down, the focus shifts to the second part of legacy.
Yeah.
Actively giving back, making an impact. And the sources gave 3 really inspiring examples or models.
They did. The first model was simple, giving money, but strategically, specifically using micro-lending platforms like Kiva.org.
Right. This lets you bypass big organizations and lend small amounts, like $25 or $50, directly to entrepreneurs, often women, in developing countries.
Exactly. Helping them start or grow a small business, a farm, a shop, a tailoring service. And the amazing thing about Kiva is the repayment rate is incredibly high, something like 95.7%.
So the money isn't just a donation, it gets repaid.
And then you can relend it to someone else. It becomes a revolving fund for impact. The example was Chinupati Jagadish, a scientist who came from poverty himself and now uses Kiva to help thousands lift themselves out.
And there's a connection there too, isn't there? You get updates.
You do. You often get updates on the borrower's business progress. It makes the giving feel much more personal and connected than just donating to a large anonymous charity. You see the direct impact.
Okay, that's giving money effectively.
Yeah.
The second model was giving time and money. The story of Helen Brown.
Yeah, Helen Brown. Described as a stay-at-home mom from country Victoria, she took a trip to Uganda, saw a huge need, and decided to do something. She started an organization called Hug Help Us Grow.
And she didn't just donate money, she poured her energy into it.
Exactly. She channeled her time, her organizing skills, her financial discipline, learned through her own journey into building a community center and a medical clinic from scratch over there. And crucially, the source noted, she drew no wage herself. Every dollar raised went directly to the project.
And the impact?
Phenomenal. That center and clinic now serve something like 50,000 people in the local Ugandan community. It's an incredible example of how focused time and purpose-driven action enabled by financial stability can create massive change. It wasn't about her personal wealth, but her application of resources, time, and money.
Amazing. And the third model was a kind of hybrid. The digger's legacy, Anthony, the Defense Force officer.
Right. Anthony's story showed how you can combine your investment savings, your entrepreneurial drive, and a desire to give back all into one project.
He used the money he'd saved and invested over the years.
Following the earlier steps, presumably?
Right. He used that capital to launch his own business, a razor subscription company called Brother Shave, cleverly tapping into the military market where daily shaving is often required.
But the key was the built-in purpose. It wasn't just about profit. He pledged right from the start to donate $1 from every single pack sold to Soldier On, an organization supporting wounded veterans.
So giving back was part of the business model itself.
Exactly. And there was another layer. He employed his own father, who was suffering from PTSD after his own service, giving him meaningful work and support within the family business.
That's a fantastic example. It ties everything together: the savings, discipline, the entrepreneurial action, the direct giving, the family support.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it perfectly illustrates that core message running through this whole harvest phase. Those small amounts of money, saved consistently, invested wisely over a long time. They don't just build personal wealth. They build the foundation, the launch pad for creating profound positive change in the world around you. Whether it's through microloans, building clinics, or supporting veterans through a business, the financial control enables the legacy.
Which brings us beautifully to the end of this deep dive into Part 3, Harvest. It feels like we've covered some really significant ground. Let's just take a moment to recap the key achievements from this final phase.
Yeah, it's worth crystallizing, because executing these 3 steps genuinely transforms your financial reality and, just as importantly, your emotional state around money.
Okay, so in Part 3, Harvest, Step 7 first. You stopped being that stressed-out postcode pavo, right?
Mm-hmm.
You took charge of the mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Made that crucial phone call, negotiated a much better rate, started making those extra payments.
And literally shaved years, potentially many years, off your biggest debt. You secured true homeownership freedom. The bank is off your back.
Then, Step 8. Nail your retirement number. You secured your future income stream.
But not by chasing some mythical $1 million target.
No. By implementing the smart, stable Donald Bradman strategy. Paying off the home first.
Then optimizing your super around that key threshold, maybe $250K for a couple.
To maximize the guaranteed indexed age pension. Combining that with tax-free super drawdowns and maybe some enjoyable tax-advantaged part-time work.
All protected by that crucial 3 to 5 year cash mojo buffer in super, ensuring stability for life.
Exactly. Retirement income secured. And finally, Step 9. Leave a legacy. You shifted focus beyond just the money.
You asked the big questions. What do I stand for? What impact do I want to have?
You perform that ultimate act of love and responsibility by preparing the If I Die folder, especially that binding super nomination and maybe the video letter.
Protecting your family from chaos.
And you identified ways to use your financial control to make a difference, whether through giving money like Kiva, giving time like Helen Brown, or building purpose into a business like Anthony. You defined a pathway to a meaningful legacy.
So this whole journey, really, from Step 1, way back in plant, all the way through grow, culminating here in harvest, it all seems to point towards one ultimate goal, doesn't it? Which isn't just wealth, but, well, happiness.
That's exactly what the sources conclude. And they bring in the findings from the Australian Unity Wellbeing Index research, which is quite well regarded. It identifies what they call the golden triangle of happiness.
Okay, the golden triangle. What are the 3 points?
Well, the first finding is perhaps the most counterintuitive in our money-obsessed world. The research shows pretty clearly that once your household income gets above a certain threshold, roughly $70,000 a year in Australian terms, adjusted for a cost of living elsewhere perhaps.
So enough to cover the basics and a bit more comfortably.
Right. Once you pass that point, simply earning more money doesn't actually lead to significant increases in your overall happiness or well-being. The correlation flatlines.
So more money beyond that point isn't the answer to happiness. What is? What are the 3 points of the triangle?
The research says true. Sustainable well-being comes down to 3 key things, which financial control enables but doesn't directly buy. First, a sense of purpose.
Knowing what you're about,
Yeah.
what matters to you.
Yes. Having a reason to get out of bed that's bigger than just earning a paycheck. If you don't know what you stand for, no amount of money will fill that void.
Okay, purpose. Second point.
Strong personal relationships. Connection with family, friends, community. And we've touched on this repeatedly. What's the biggest source of conflict that destroys relationships?
Money fights. Financial stress.
Exactly. Financial stress corrodes connection. So getting control of money removes a massive barrier to strong relationships.
Purpose, relationships. And the third point of the triangle must be
the very thing we've been relentlessly pursuing through all 9 steps, financial control.
But notice, it's control, not necessarily vast riches.
Precisely. It's not about having millions in the bank. It's about having that internal feeling, that knowledge that you are the one making the decisions about your money. Not the bank dictating terms, not the fluctuating market causing panic, not fear or ignorance driving your choices. You are in control.
And that feeling of control is what frees up your mental and emotional energy.
To actually focus on finding your purpose and investing in your relationships, it's the enabler. And this leads to the final, really empowering thought from the sources.
Which is?
The truth is, your freedom doesn't start when you hit some magic number in the future, when the mortgage is finally gone, or when your super hits $1 million. Your freedom starts today.
How so?
It starts the moment you stop drifting in that normal state of financial fog and anxiety, and you actually implement a clear plan. The moment you take that first decisive action, set up the buckets, make the phone call to the bank, automate your savings.
That feeling of control begins then.
That feeling of control, that clarity, starts right then and there. The journey from uncertainty to, I've got this, begins with the first step of the plan.
So the challenge to you, the listener, is to recognize that. Look at the path we've mapped out over these deep dives. Look at the steps you've already taken or are about to take.
You're no longer just reacting to financial pressures. You have a strategy, a powerful, detailed plan for security, for retirement, for legacy.
You have clarity now. You have the framework. So from this point forward, whatever financial headline or market wobble comes along, you can look it in the eye.
And confidently say to yourself,
I've got this.
Thank you again for sharing all your sources and for joining us on this really comprehensive deep dive into the harvest phase. It's been quite a journey.
It certainly has. We really hope this empowers you to keep taking action, keep building that control, and maybe inspire others around you too. We'll see you next time.